Welcome back. You're watching ThePapare.com's World Cup news breakdown, brought to you by Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub, www.thepapare.com. Yes, now the next match is what Sri Lanka will be hoping for to maintain the momentum. You expect England to bounce back after that near debacle against New Zealand. They've had a fairly long break, and playing in New Zealand, Sri Lanka will probably have reservations. Is England hoping that their faster bowlers can deliver?
Yeah, that's all they've got pretty much. I mean, they have their fast bowlers and Moeen Ali. That's pretty much their bowling attack. But I don't think we should discount Moeen Ali either. He probably is the key to that bowling attack, because he's only one who lends a bit of variety, unless of course they opt to play Ravi Bopara.
I've just about, how can you take my question? Why not Ravi Bopara? They've got a bowling option then. Yeah. He's done reasonably well. He's mentally more prepared, I think, against Sri Lanka. You think England will probably look at that?
I think Ravi Bopara has been very badly handled by the England management. I mean, if you look at his career, not just in the World Cup, if you look at his entire career, Jahan, in Test cricket, T20 cricket, one-day cricket, he's been always the first option that gets knocked out. You know, even after he scores runs. I really don't know whether there is any other reason other than cricket.
He is the only guy who plays with so much freedom from ball one, and it seems that his carefree attitude is what sometimes gets him out of the English team, and I feel that is exactly what is needed. Somebody like Bopara, Morgan does that. I mean, he plays with that same freedom. Which is lacking in the English batting at the moment.
I'm not very sorry, Haritha, I'm not very sure that Ravi Bopara gets left out on cricketing reasons alone.
Tell me whether the team balance will come, in your opinion, if they leave out Gary Balance. He's not sharp on the field.
I think Gary Balance seemed to be a misfit there actually. He seemed to be a square peg in a round hole. I don't know why they're batting James Taylor down the order, because to me he looked so good at number 3, and listening to some of the top English former cricketers, people like Botham, you know, who felt that Taylor should occupy number 3. And when England played in Sri Lanka, there was so much of protest behind the scene by the English commentators who also occupy very high places in English cricketing circles, that really made Alistair Cook lose his place. So they were basically opting for with Moeen Ali and who's the other guy? Hales to open. And they never thought that even Ian Bell should be playing. But again, they were pushing for Bell because of the experience factor. They never felt that Bell and Cook can play in the same side because they look so similar as players,
so
as batsmen.
Bell, Cook and Gary Balance in the same side
would have been a disaster.
Tell me, why should they pick Gary Balance and leave out Alistair Cook?
Well, English selections can be baffling, but Alistair Cook, the only reason I feel is Gary Balance hasn't had a decent run at one-day cricket for the English selectors to find out how good he is. Alistair Cook gave them enough ammunition by failing over and over again, and he was becoming such an embarrassment that if he was not captain, he wouldn't have been in that side. So to me, that seems to be the only argument and nothing else.
Now, because of what's happening around him, I think even Joe Root is losing his clout as that utility player. We knew he could bat very well, that he could come and bowl and you know, consume a few overs, pick up a wicket or two, take that brilliant catch.
England should play. England should open. I think they should try and you know, reinvent the wheel as far as
they should open with Hales and
Moeen Ali should open.
Talk through this.
Bopara should bat at 6, I think. And Taylor should bat at 3.
Bell at 4.
No, not Bell. It should be Morgan or Root. Joe Root. Root. I think Taylor 3. Taylor at 3. Morgan or Root at 4 or 5, depending on the situation. Bopara at 6. That should be the top 6.
And following him?
then you got to see. I mean,
Stuart Broad.
Okay, Stuart Broad, fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
There's
That's fine.
Vokes, there's Jordan. There are a few options they have, but I think their problem is the 6 batsmen. They are not firing. They are not putting. They are not having enough runs on the board. At 105 for 4 against New Zealand, you wouldn't have expected them to be dismissed for 123.
Okay, we've discussed this. They are discussing options against Sri Lanka. I hope England will keep their problems with them. That will help Sri Lanka. And what would Sri Lanka do? You think, we discussed this, you think that there is a serious thought to dabble around with Dinesh Chandimal? He's not contributed so far.
Well, it's the first game he played. I mean, he didn't get a bat. So, I mean, Dimuth and Chandi, you can't select or drop them from the last game on the 2 games that we played. But the combination is what we need to work out. I mean, no one's going to fault them if they say, look, we are going with a combination of 6 batsmen, and unfortunately, we have to leave either Chandi out or Dimuth out, or both out if we are going to bring Upul back in there.
What about using, now that ThePapare has made a few runs, what about using him as a really worthwhile hitter if the need arises?
I'm sure they will do that.
They'll have to do.
I'm pretty sure they will do that. I mean, if at that stage, when Sangha and Dilshan were batting, if one of them had got out during the power play or just afterwards, I'm sure ThePapare would have come in ahead of Mahela around the 43rd or 44th over. That's
good. That's encouraging. That's a vote of confidence. Yeah, fine. I mean, it's just about the balance and the confidence of Sri Lanka. Then should Sri Lanka win the toss, and if that happens, what would be best for Sri Lanka?
I would say bat first. I mean, we have been going to this bowl first option in New Zealand because if it's a day game, we feel it'll do a little bit early on and it's cold in the mornings. But wickets have not really done as much as we expect it to. So I would say bat first, runs on the board. You can bat without too much pressure on us. Bat first.
Okay, bat first. Bat first, and what should be the strategy? Keep wickets?
Yeah.
I mean, play as normally as you can.
The Bangladesh match was a perfect example.
Same game plan.
What a lot of teams do now is play the 50 overs like a game of 2 halves. They play it until about the 25th or 30th over, keep wickets in hand, and then the last 20 they play it like a T20. So it's almost like a game of a 25 over game and then a T20 game at the end. And actually it's much easier than a T20 game because we have an extra field inside the ring, and you have a power play to get you going, get that momentum. And we've seen AB de Villiers does it, Chris Gale does it, Dilshan and Sangha did it the other day. Australia do it with Maxwell and Stephen Smith. So that seems to be the trend in international cricket, to play it like a game of 2 halves, 2 new balls at the top. So play a bit of a consolidating role at the top and then have a go towards the end.
Broad, Finn and Vokes,
Anderson.
Together with the experience of Anderson, you think that the Sri Lanka's top order is now confident enough to handle them?
Yeah, before I answer that question, I also need to tell you that you said we were discussing Sri Lanka, England's plans against Sri Lanka. I know even if England plays the 6th that we suggested, Sri Lanka will still win, because England lack a lot of confidence. I think that's where their problem is. It has nothing to do with ability. I mean, they were walloped by Australia and they were humiliated by New Zealand. I mean, that's a game that England should have lost so badly. New Zealand still were the better side, but England didn't deserve, or England on paper wasn't a side that could have lost so badly. And the way New Zealand just rubbed salt into their wounds with McCallum going after the bowling, and this break has done a lot of good for England. So I believe it's a case of England not having confidence. So therefore I'm not particularly concerned about the combination they're going to play. But Jehan, on the other hand, as England are batting so badly, I wonder whether Sri Lanka, if it's a day game, is it a day game? Sri Lanka, England? If it is a day game, whether they should bat first, because anyway, New Zealand will have English conditions. So why allow England fast bowlers even the slightest chance? I mean, if they have to bowl second when we are chasing, and with England batting so badly, Sri Lankan bowlers will want to, want to put England under pressure because with their batting not getting runs.
I just feel that the wickets are not doing as much as we expect them to, and maybe in the second innings, because a lot of Wellington could, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a drop-in pitch at Wellington.
Yes.
And
All pitches are.
it would help spinners
Later
towards
on.
the second half
All
of the
right. So
game.
then I think
And
that's
if you are
the
looking at the extra spin option, and our bowlers can bowl their change-ups, their variations, which Andrew Lord does a lot of his slow balls, Lasith bowls his slow balls. It will help our bowlers bowling second.
Right.
And under these circumstances, there's no way of considering Nuwan Kulasekara.
Unlikely. I wouldn't
Very
do
unlikely.
that, not at this stage.
Not at this stage.
Not at this
because
stage.
Important game for Sri Lanka coming up on the 1st of March in Wellington against England, who seem to be short of confidence, and Sri Lanka hopefully will have the right combination, and we'll be discussing probably a good win for the Sri Lankans ahead of Australia thereafter. You've been watching the ThePapare.com's World Cup news breakdown, brought to you by Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub, www.thepapare.com. We thank Roshan Abhisingh and Jihan Mubarak, sharing the passion. We'll be back.
Fire up your home or office with ultimate speeds. Keep up with the next generation on Dialog 4G. Connect to the fastest network with burst speeds of 40 Mbps. Go 4G with monthly plans starting at just 1,400 rupees. Dialog, the future today.